Yo.
Are we live?
Uh-oh. What happened to my audio? Or maybe it's yours.
What's
Can
up?
you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Hi.
Hey, Pam.
Everyone.
Oh, it's apparently my audio.
Hey,
So
Pam.
Jarrett. Okay, excellent.
All right, now I should hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
What about now? Is it better?
I can hear you fine. It was my speaker. It was set to go to something that wasn't actually a speaker.
Okay, very good. So let me just adjust the lighting a little bit. And that's all. Do you guys want me to sit down so it's more consistent among three of us, or what is that? How does it work?
Whatever's most comfortable for you.
Okay, very good. Then we'll just go with this then. And does the sound come through okay? Is it clear?
Yeah, sounds
Perfect.
good to me. How's mine, Jared?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right, I'm actually using the mic this time. All right, let's get going.
All right. And then this is live, right?
This is live, and we are officially live now.
Oh, really?
Let's go. Welcome to Outbound 2.0.
I'm like live now. I'm like touching my hair. And I was like, how is the lighting? It was like,
this is standard for the start of Outbound 2.0, so we're all good.
This is the realest show out there. We
Oh,
are humans
man.
like you
Oh,
all.
man. I was like literally casually walking into the screen. Whatever.
All right. Well, we are officially live. Pam, thank you so much for joining us today. So we have Pam Diner with us. Pam is from Relentless Pursuit. You're out of Raleigh, is that right?
Yes, I'm based in Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's awesome. I'm from Boone originally. Went to Davidson for my undergrad. So you're in old stomping grounds for me.
Awesome. Well, stop by anytime.
I'm not that far east that often, but I am over there fairly often. My most of my family's still in the high country. So
very good. Excellent. It's a beautiful place. I love it. In the fall,
So-
it's actually quite nice.
Yep. What were you gonna say, Jared?
I was gonna say we have a tremendous guest here for everybody today. You know, somebody that spent 14 years at a massive organization, many more, author, right? Advisor, been running relentless pursuit for the last 8+ years. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you for that completely overrated introduction. Yeah.
That
Not
was
necessary.
objective. That was
That
objective.
completely unnecessary.
Maybe my tone was unnecessary, but those were objective statements.
But I appreciate it, Jared. Appreciate it. You literally pump me up, so it's good.
Well, that's great. Jared is great for that. So he will make you feel good / embarrassed in front of an audience. Better than
All
just
right,
about
lay it on me. If you want to embarrass me, I'm all yours.
I guess that means
Well,
more
cool.
compliments coming your way.
Make that backhanded compliment. You know what I'm saying?
Well, awesome. We like to start these off with just a handful of questions.
Sure.
And the first one is debunk a myth about outbound or demand gen.
Yeah.
We're all about trying to say something that's interesting / controversial over here.
All right. So what is the controversial topics today from your perspective, Jason?
What about from your perspective, Pam?
I don't know. World peace. Everything is great.
Oh.
I don't know how controversial world peace is, but
well, demand gen is hard, honestly, for anybody who is doing demand generation. I tip my hat to you. It's actually a lot of hard work. And there's always a lot of talks in terms of what works, what doesn't work. Like, for example, email is dead. So what do you think, Jason? Do you think email is dead?
I don't think email's dead. I think email is harder than ever, though. I don't see a time that email will not be the most effective and especially the most cost-effective, demand gen channel or motion.
Yeah.
But holy crap, has it gotten harder every year of the 15
I
years I've been doing this?
100% agree with you. Like I said, I mean, anybody who is doing email marketing nowadays is really scratching their heads. They were like, how can we say it in a way that doesn't sound salesy and creepy, yet we want you to buy something?
Well, that and even from the technical side of things, like just getting it to land in inboxes where it's visible has gotten harder and harder.
Yeah, the technical side. There's a lot of technical challenges or also technical barriers, or you have to understand, for example, you need to make sure that for example, your email is Google validated, and also you need to make sure there's a lot of back end. You have to do it right. To make sure that your email domain or the email that you send out does not land it into kind of like a spam or trash. And
Yep.
I personally agree with you 100%. Doing email marketing is getting harder and harder every single day and every single year. And that kind of just, set up a good challenge for marketers in general. In terms of what you need to say and how you want to say it, and it's just like everything is connected to some extent, right? Even though you write a very, very good email, for example, your landing page needs to be consistent with your email, and also the copy, the creative that you do, you want to come out that is welcoming and also talking to your audience in a very sincere manner. So I do agree with you. It's actually harder. And so, Jason, do you do a lot of email marketing yourself, or like a podcast live is pretty much kind of like your channel?
Oh no, I've been doing email marketing. Let's put it this way. I was a Pardot customer before they were acquired by Salesforce. And I'm pretty certain, I was responsible for them putting the checkbox you had to check saying, yeah, I didn't source this information from somewhere else. So when we talk about like people's bad practices that have broken stuff, like 15+ years ago, I was definitely guilty of putting us in this position.
Really, Jason? So you are the guilty one. Thank you for making that confession on the eve of Thanksgiving. That's a way to go.
No, the very first thing I ever did, I went and bought a built with list that had nothing but like info at, sales at, generic email addresses. Because the company I was at, we were a Salesforce integration. So like anybody that built with tells me that has Salesforce, I'm gonna pull every email address and I'm gonna load it into Pardot. And it was like 2 days after I did that they put that checkbox on there, and I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
I did my share of mistakes on the email marketing side of things as well. When I started, especially when I left the corporate world and decided to stand on my own feet. And standing on your own feet is hard,
Mhm.
and you have to build your own pipeline, and you have to do your own accounting. You wear multiple hats. You can be a CEO and down to a janitor. And on the email, I also did tons of email marketing and make tons of mistakes. And initially, I go for that, like any email addresses I can get. And then over a period of time, I end up focusing on quality over quantity. And from time to time, I even encourage my subscriber, feel free to unsubscribe. Doesn't hurt my feeling. If you don't want to talk to me, you don't want to be part of the party, it's actually okay. But I think for that kind of approach, it's very hard for a lot of B2B or even company email marketer to swallow. They kind of being measured by the number of subscriber or number of the people in the database. And I personally think if you actually have a huge amount of database, the next things that you need to focus on is quality. And doing the data cleaning is such a mundane, boring, and a thankless job, but it's something that absolutely needs to be done. And that's not something that all of us and the marketers want to do. We want something like creative, copywriting, words matter. But the thing from my perspective on the email marketing, the one thing that needs to be considered and looked into in a very, very harsh manner is really clean database.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, if you do it well, it does take time and effort, and you do have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
But you can also do stuff that's just table stakes that's relatively easy to automate. I mean, one of the most basic things I do is say, if I've sent X number of emails and they've not engaged over, consecutive, emails, like just
take it off.
Mark them as, exactly.
Yeah. And another thing is I set up a criteria if the email has a hard bounce, and then I automatically delete it. It's like, it's not like going past the server or it bounced back. You know what? Delete it. You don't need it. Just delete it. And from my perspective, it's very important to keep the data clean. But I do agree with you. There are several easy steps to take. And another thing is, of course, you can also buy third-party tool and then use a third-party enrichment, the data or the third-party email database that usually they keep it current and map and reconcile with your own database. I think that's another way. But another thing I do actually want to say is keep data clean is almost like a quarterly job, because there is a certain percentage of data decay over a period of time because we change jobs and people leave the certain work space and try something else. So you have to maintain that data quality on a regular basis, and it's kind of like cleaning the house, right? You know what I'm saying? Like spring cleaning. We all hate spring cleaning. God damn it. But you somehow have to do it. And I think that also applies to database cleaning.
Yeah, I mean, when I launched Sales Intel as a brand, which is a ZoomInfo competitor, we all the time would point back to the research says you get about a 30% annual data decay.
Data decay. Yeah.
That was all before COVID and the Great Resignation and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I've not seen updated studies on that, but holy crap, can you imagine what those numbers are now? With all of the job hopping and everything that occurred with that.
I totally agree. So yeah, so one action item, I guess, for all the listeners out there, that if you're doing demand gen, especially using email marketing, it's time to pay attention to the quality of data. If you're doing that on a regular basis, good for you.
Absolutely. We had a question from Josh asking about balancing quality. Good.
I wanted to add one quick thing, because I just spoke with somebody yesterday about like improving data, because data is so important. But having a clean data, let's stop everything and do a cleanup data project. Don't do it. It's something that you have to keep doing all the time, and constantly. But stopping everything. Come on. Like you're not putting your eggs in the right basket on that.
It's a moving target, and you have to be comfortable with a level of inaccuracy.
Yep.
And that's data in general, not just like data in general in your organization, right?
So,
Top down.
yeah. So this is how I see, at least how I manage my data. And of course, I don't have a huge database, and mine is very niche and it's kind of small. And the way I do it is kind of you taking the baby steps. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I do agree with Jason. There is a certain you never reach that, that nirvana. Like you have like a perfect data. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, like, everything is great. You never reach that stage ever. Okay. And I do agree with you. There's a certain level, you have to have a certain level of intolerance of your data is inaccurate. But what is that level? You need to find that level you are comfortable with. But it cannot be like, your data is like 25% accurate. That's going to suck, right? So you have to find a certain level and what that is. But I do agree with Jason. You have to kind of take the baby steps. And the cleaning data is really like, you know what? You clean this, you clean that, that's this. And then you water your plant. It's something that you have to do on a regular basis. Cleaning data is a regular work. Just add that as your regular workflow. So I do agree with you 100%, Jared. Go ahead. Josh has a question.
Yeah. So Josh was asking, and I mean, this speaks to a lot of stuff we're talking about. Everybody has a limited amount of time, resources, whatever, and all that we're talking about is time consuming activities. And whenever you're spending time on ensuring quality and qualification and cleaning data and stuff like that, you're taking time away from the creation of content and the effort of getting the content out there. And so how do you balance those two conflicting priorities?
Great question, Josh. My answer to you is work overtime. I'm kidding. That's how I actually do. I mean, I focus on the quality and quantity.
You're not the only person that suggested that. That's a top revenue leader that's done it boldly and said
work overtime. But anyway,
it works.
So here is what I would do, Josh, if I were you. And you can somehow do both, the quality versus quantity. But the way I would do it is you still do your regular job. Okay. I'm going to give you one example. For example, you do email campaigns. You send out email on a regular basis, say every, twice a week or once a month or whatever. And obviously you probably ramp up a little bit. Now the holiday is approaching. Okay. So you're doing your regular job. Okay. That's your regular job. You have to do that. That's the number one thing you have to do. You still have to do your regular job. Now, what you need to do is look at the email you send out on a regular basis. Now you have to look at analytics. Okay. Look at the analytics, how your analytics perform over a period of time, because that's also part of your regular job, right? So let's assume the opening rate is somehow in a decline, or the number of the bounce email is somehow in the rise. You look at the data and you say, there are certain things I need to do to correct that, right? Because you need to correct that to optimize and make sure that your analytic is going in the right direction. So what is the correction that you do as in correlation, in association of making that correction to make sure your metric is maintained in the right direction? That is how you find the balance between quality and quantity. Is that helpful?
Excellent. Excellent answer on that side. You mentioned a couple of the metrics like bounce rates, open rates, stuff like that. What are other metrics or KPIs that you typically need to pay attention to?
Okay, so you asked great question, Jason. I love you. Did I say I love you today? I love you. Well, because I love Jason, Jared, I love you too.
This is great.
Am I crazy?
all the best ones are.
Jason, you probably think like, how many drinks did you have? Okay. Well,
14 cups of coffee. 7 of them were spiked.
So to answer your question, Jason, I want to answer it in 2 levels. Okay. The most common email marketing metrics that we all use as a part of email marketing platform is opening rate, bounce rates, and click-through rate, right? Those are most common. However, if you think about it, those are important for email marketers like us who are doing email marketing. And those are the kind of metrics at the technical level that we need to track. But if you think about it, are those metrics that our managers or executives care? They don't give a crap, right? It's like they open like twice, they opened yesterday, they don't care. You need to bring those like metrics down to the purchase funnel, right? And that has a lot to do with, is your backend is connected to CRM or not? For example, if somebody can click through a certain content, can you actually see who clicked it? And you probably can see that based on the email address. Has that email address been connected to your CRM database? If the backend is connected, you can check on the CRM base. You say, oh my God, that's an existing account. Oh my God, that's a strategic account. Oh, they click on this. Maybe I should inform my sales force, my salespeople, right? So on one hand, you should track whatever metrics you track to do your job. On the other hand, you have to take the information down and connect that to a CRM database and be able to articulate whoever is clicking or even look at your email is somehow might be either potential customers or existing customers. And then you can determine based on the information, how can you help your salespeople? Can you turn that into a prospect? Or can you, it's some behavior attribution that as a piece of intelligence that you should share with your salespeople? I know I'm talking a lot of work, but at the end of the day, if marketing is done right, it's work. There's nothing sexy about it. Zero. That's what people don't understand. Digital marketing, there's nothing sexy about it. Nothing. Anyway, am I like depressed the heck out of a lot of you now? I'm sorry. You know what? Drink. That helps a lot. This is tea. This is tea.
I need some of your tea. No, I mean, amen to what you just said. I mean, I typically spend the first quarter, anytime I go into a new organization, wiring all of that up so that I can actually start tracing stuff down to revenue. Because until I can do that, like it's a crapshoot whether I'm optimizing for the right thing or not.
I completely agree. Yeah. So the backend connection is super, super important. And I think that's something as a marketer, including myself, most of us are not technical and we don't know to ask that type of questions, or we don't know how to make that happen. But I strongly advise if you are marketers, especially on the client side, you need to start understanding your backend. And trust me, that knowledge is power.
Oh, it 100% is. I mean, what that unlocks for you as far as insights, the ability to test things, because I mean, more often than not, I mean, it's virtually universal. I'll find something in the data that like stands out, but that's typically the beginning of it. It's like, okay, now I got to go trace the breadcrumbs and figure out, okay, holy crap, that campaign did amazing. Like, was it the subject line? Was it the copy in the email? Was it the topic? Was it the landing page? Was it, you know, whatever, or vice versa? Like, holy crap, that landed with a dud. We got 2 people that came through. Like, what was broken? What went wrong where within that? And if you don't have all of that actually tied together, then, I mean, you're just flying in the dark.
Oh yeah. I've done my share of that in the past.
I have too, and it's so terrifying and frustrating for me. I cannot operate that way. Awesome. Well, so what's some of the things that are challenging right now or keeping you up at night relative to these things?
Let's see. Netflix kind of keeps me up. You know, I determine what kind of show I need to binge watch.
What are you watching right now?
Let me see. I finished The Good Place and that was pretty good, but that was a much older show. Most of the time, I actually prefer watching movies. Oh. Let me tell you the things I binge watch, like literally a month ago. The Great British Baking Show.
My daughter loves that show.
I love the show too. Oh my God. I was like, and like, I love to eat. Like when I'm happy, I eat. When I'm sad, I eat. When I'm angry, I eat. So I'm like, I eat every day and I eat all the time, right? And so I watched that show and I was like, oh my God. But it never actually motivated me to do any baking. I'm so good at sitting there and be like, you know what? I think he's gonna lose. Look at that direct decoration. It's just not that great. So I become a very good critic. But like in terms of the baking skill set, I progress nothing. But I really enjoy that show a lot. And another thing I really enjoy is they do help each other out. And it's kind of, even though they are competing with each other, but they also genuinely help each other, to succeed. And I kind of like that. It's kind of like our corporate environment. Like we might be competing with each other for resources, for budget, even for promotions. But at the same time, we also work together as a team. I think that's wonderful. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I did not even answer your
professionally
question.
is keeping you up at night?
I did not even answer your question. I think one thing that I've been thinking a lot lately in relationship to marketing, especially the future of marketing, is artificial intelligence and how will AI help us and to make our job easier, and how it will also be detrimental in terms of working against us. So that's why I has been thinking about in terms of artificial intelligence and how that will help and also work against us. Yeah.
What's been your experience thus far in your interactions with or encounters with AI in this context?
So there's a couple things. Number one thing, I do actually encourage anybody who is listening, if you are using any kind of third-party tool, many third-party tools have algorithms and especially machine learning algorithm built into it. And if you are using any kind of third-party CRM, a lot of enterprise version of CRM, they are having machine learning features that built into it. I encourage you to kind of test it and understand what are some of the features that do and how you can use it or how you cannot use it. Okay, so that's one thing. You don't really have to like build artificial intelligence model and then spend tons of money on that, but start it small. That's the number one, right? Using the existing tool, understand the features that's already embedded, and then see how you can make your job a little bit easier. And the second thing, I to answer your question in terms of how to use artificial intelligence, there are many tools out there. Number one is actually how to help you write. So there is Writer, there's Jasper, and there's Copy.ai. There's many kind of like they call it language processing platform. You can brief AIs. You can basically, when you open the screen, it was like, okay, what do you want to write? And you can write a topic, you can write the keywords. And then on the right side of the screen, you can kind of see like things just automatically show up, right? And the AI is thinking based on your keywords, based on the question, based on what you said, and it will start writing paragraph. So there is definitely a content creation part of it that the AI can do. But I also want to caution everyone that a lot of stuff they write tend to be generic because they are trained by machines. They are trained by accessing different kind of data sources. And you have to treat anything that AI created as a first draft. And you are the experts. You have insight about your customers. And you need to take your insight, your expertise, and look at that article or the draft that's created and then modify it. Don't take whatever AI created as a final draft. No, it's the first draft. And you have to add your point of view to it.
100%. You get in so much trouble if you try and use that as a final product.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, and a lot of time they write that you can see the writing is very generic. Yeah.
And I mean, my experience with AI, machine learning, stuff like that is the more narrow the application of it, and the more it's created to enable or help, as opposed to trying to be a end-to-end solution, the
I
more
100%
valuable it is.
Yeah.
I've yet to encounter something where like the promise is, hey, this is an AI black box and it's going to do the job for you, that has come anywhere close to living up to the promises.
Yep. No, I 100% agree with you. Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing I was like, yeah, well, how is that technology will unravel over a period of time? I think everybody is waiting to see. Yeah.
As an OpenAI customer and one of the first users myself, GPT-3, I'm in their Slack group and everything.
Love it.
I'm like, I want to write an article on sales or something, or something. I gave it a vague topic, and I'm like, this is pulling from the year before. Like I was trying to have it like do some minor research. I'm like, I'm open to just like making this live, but like, oh my God, the time period was off. No.
Have you tried the Dolly 2?
Yeah. So not only have I heard of Dolly 2,
yeah, Dolly 2.
My partner is the creative director of Cosmopolitan magazine. One of the most visible women's magazines.
Yeah, and
period,
working
right?
with Karen Chan, right? And to actually use
So they did Dolly. So her view on it was,
yeah, I know.
but because it's not actually creative, and like it's just about what you put in, not that you be an artist. I put in dog and astronaut and whatever. Like,
you put like a panda can dunk, you know what I'm saying? And it would just come up with a panda can dunk.
Is that creative? Like, do these people have any creativity, like outside of the word? Like, is that even creative? Like, so, outside of the fact that, it's a long way away, and I think art in general, it's an interesting topic because it's getting watered down, and people say it's subjective. It's objective. It's getting watered the fuck down, like over the years, from classical to pop art, right? And then pop art became popular and everybody was like that. But now it's just like not even. We're at this NFT stage where the best people that actually are doing are creating like, okay, animations, but like Bored Ape Yacht Club, that's like, how is that the best art out here now?
Yeah.
So of course that same person goes with Dolly, so
I agree with you. In terms of a creative, and I think that's literally the final frontier, right? For between, say, machine versus human. And for the longest time is that creativity, that the ability to innovate, that kind of drive the human race forward. And now it seems like territory is somehow being invaded. But I do agree with you, Jared, that at this point, let's say the art is created by AI, it's probably, they are pulling information from different sources. So you can say it's now original, or you can say, oh, they pull different sources and then therefore it's original. Debated to a sense of originality or not. I think we as a human, what we can control is how can we make our own creativity better, right? And just continue to improve ourselves. And I think you are right. There's still a long way to go.
And she just stopped into my office, by the way, out of nowhere, and dropped off a plant, which is a phenomenal plant.
Lovely. I love it. I have one too right here.
Jason's seen the size of my office. He actually has been in my office. Two people cannot go in at the same time.
he is not exaggerating.
So Jared, I do agree with you that they still have a long way to go, but at the same time, the machine is learning so fast because we feed them millions and millions of data points, and they are picking up stuff fast.
But how are they going to create something original?
I don't know.
Truly original. And how is this going to make humans more unique and more original? Why do we even have artists that are people anymore? Why do we even have people that put in the feed the stuff? Because we could have machines feed the stuff. But
you know what? I believe, so I hear you, and now we probably go off the tangent. Jared, Jason, bring us back.
Yeah.
I probably sound very naive when I say this, and the guys, you can slap me if you want. I always believe a sense of coexist and the coexistence. And maybe, there are ways to actually have both arts and both creativity coming from both worlds. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. But like I said, I want to put a disclaimer right there. Everybody was like, you are so naive, Pam. They are going to have a superhuman being. Super AI is going to take down all of us. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I just feel they are both, and we can enjoy both, both sides of it.
What's interesting is, and we have written AI and we have art AI, like visual, right? Everybody wants to put the art AI in magazines, but with the written stuff, they don't want to put it in the magazines. They don't want to put it anywhere, right? Because why? They want to protect humans and it's just, you can't have it both ways.
One thing that you said, Bam, that I think is really, really critical, though, is this stuff is built off of the data that we're feeding it. And this is something I think is underappreciated and that people don't spend enough time or attention on, which is understanding the fundamental data that is feeding into these metrics or into these, AI, machine learning things, stuff like that. Because you've got to understand at a more fundamental level, like how are you actually getting to that result, whether it's just, a KPI or a report, a dashboard, or it's something like, an AI, machine learning output that's coming from it. And so far too many of us, I believe, just take whatever that is and accept it without having to go and look at all of that other side of it. And I mean, perfect example for me, I was with Everstring whenever they were in beta, before they had actually sold it to anybody and using that. And I mean, Everstring, Montego, all of those that came out, 6, 7, 8 years ago, promising, hey, we're gonna revolutionize lead scoring. We're gonna go in, we're gonna look at your data, and we're gonna be able to tell you like who's ready to buy right now. And I mean, every one of those pivoted 4, 5, 6 times before they got acquired for a fraction of the money they had raised. And there's a reason for that. And it was primarily the data being fed into it. It wasn't like the algorithms and stuff were broken.
The data, the quality of a data set.
Yep, exactly. It was the quality and it was the quantity. Most people's CRMs and pipelines don't have a large enough sample size to do what they were trying to do.
That is true too. I 100% agree. And you brought a very good point. I think one of the holy grail that I guess everybody, especially in the B2B world or the B2B marketing, that we all try to crack is that the buyer's intent or the propensity to buy. And honestly, I don't think there is one platform can actually solve that. Personally, I think you need multiple data points to even evaluate, a person's intent. So it's just not one data point. And I do agree with you 100%. You need a huge amount of data sets to actually validate. For example, Jared, for example, maybe we are talking right now, you are also scrolling and check out some of the holiday giftings, but scrolling that and looking into things, it's hard to judge what you want to buy, right? And maybe you stay on a certain screen or you click on certain things. It might be an indication that you want to buy, but that's not necessarily true.
Yep.
But that requires certain data points to actually validate in terms of what your true interest is. And that is very hard to crack. And I don't think any platform out there has ability to do that just yet.
Oh, no, not at all. And when I worked for an e-commerce startup that was able to predict who's going to buy and not buy in real time, we looked at 400 different data points every single second, right? To figure out what mattered, what didn't.
True. Right.
So like if they're looking on that product page and opening up another tab and copying, maybe they're price shopping, maybe, yeah, right? But there could be something, we all do that, right? Like literally open up the other tab. If they're adding it to their cart, like what's valuable? What we found was, one, you need to have a certain amount of data. So sites that do over 100,000 monthly visitors were like table stakes, because under it was just 10,000 just didn't do it. And then second, what I'm pretty sure they're doing now is they're still doing it, but they're humans feeding it now. So they're like an agency that has this AI thing because they need to set up different structures for different orgs, and the results are great, but it's hard.
No, I 100% agree with you. I'm so happy that you share your experience. Yeah, it's like multiple data points that even with that, sometimes it's really hard to gauge.
Yeah, it was hard to understand what mattered. Yeah.
Yeah, in my experience, using intent signals, especially third-party intent signals, is most useful and helpful at just the very top of the funnel targeting. If you want to get to like bottom of the funnel, like, likelihood to purchase, signals, it's got to be primarily first party. And even within that, it
Zero
needs to
party
be,
too.
yeah, it needs to be designed to give you that signal.
I 100% agree. And it's from the buyer directly. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then the other piece is and this is a big part of gathering data, as much data as you can, but also having a way to sift and sort through it. One of my favorite things that I learned about in marketing and using data analytics to qualify or target insurance companies. This happened years ago, back whenever digital marketplaces first happened. They went and looked at all kinds of stuff across basically all data that they could find. The single thing they found that had the highest correlation to somebody that was good, high quality to insure something was somebody that bought the protective things that you put under furniture so it would protect their floors. Because
so they buy warranty stuff.
Well, no. So the insurance company, so this would be like for homeowners insurance or cars or something like that. Basically what they saw there was, okay, these are people that are well-to-do enough. They have floors that they want to protect, and they're responsible enough that they're going to go and buy something to put under that furniture to protect the floor. And that behavior highly correlated to somebody that was going to be a good person to insure and unlikely to actually have to go take out or say that or do a file on the insurance policy.
Wow. But you know what? Now you said that, don't you think it makes a lot of sense that people who actually will buy like kind of things, pay attention to detail, make sure the furniture don't scratch the floor? First of all, that person is anal.
Yes.
Second thing is the person is probably higher income bracket, right?
Yep.
And because they obviously buy something that's high quality, they don't want it to be scratched.
Yep.
And
but it's one of those things. It's one of those things where if you look at it backwards, it all makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense. Yeah, I know.
But who in the world looking forward would be able to connect
like
those
what?
dots?
Yeah, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But I like that. I like that insight. Thank you so much. That was fun. You guys are so cool. It's great.
Chase is having a blast. I can see it on his face.
Well, I love somebody that I could, talk shop with and be like, oh, hey, have you heard this one?
Well, so share more.
So speaking of, like, what really has you excited about what's coming down the pipe?
Are you talking about 2023? 2023 is going to suck, man. The first 6 months.
Oh, we can go beyond 2023. Let's look at 24, 25.
I don't know if the stock market is going to recover. Everything will go sky high and everybody's going to make money. I'm kidding. The things that makes me excited, I think, is because I'm a B2B marketer, and so I'm kind of looking into kind of what people are doing a little bit differently. I think this downturn is a little bit different than say 2000 and 2008, honestly. And I feel in this downturn, if I'm looking into how marketing does the marketing outreach, I feel there is some changes that will need to happen in this specific downturn, especially with the digital. And I see that the more and more digital marketers will actually work closely with their sales team. You were like, oh, that's common sense. But if you talk to many companies, their sales and marketing are not necessarily talking to each other. Very few companies do a good job of that. Very few. And I see the collaboration and also the coordination between the two is going to get stronger. And I also feel that both sides realize they need each other to support, especially in a digital world. And they also realize the back end needs to be integrated. I see more of that happening. You think all this should have happened like 10, 15 years ago. No, it didn't.
Yes, it will forever boggle my mind that these are conversations that we're having at this point.
Yeah.
But it still is. Yeah, I mean,
It's
I
still
would say
going up.
I mean, it's still the majority of organizations. They're completely siloed.
Yeah,
And for me,
that's
you know,
true.
as somebody that's been an entrepreneur, has spent most of my career in bootstrap startups, like that's a luxury I've never had. It's
I
like
100% agree.
idea that marketing is not 100%
Talking to sales?
yeah, I mean, in support of sales, driving revenue, like how can that not be? But that is still the way majority of organizations are configured and set up.
And another thing is I also feel marketers, you know, a lot of time marketer wants to feel appreciated, and working with salespeople are difficult, you know, and I supported sales for a long period of time. And I went to therapy sessions and drinking a lot, whatever. But you kind of need to go through like a phase. And supporting sales is hard. It's not easy, honestly, because they expect you to know what they think here. And a lot of time they don't have time to explain to you in terms of what they need. I need content. Well, can you tell me what kind of content you need? I need content. Well, can you just tell me a list format? You know, so that kind of thing. And so I also encourage marketers don't get like, you know, feel a sense of feel defeated when they supporting sales. You know, just keep going at it and try to understand your sales team a whole lot more. And I know it's hard to say, but always feel like you are not alone. If you feel like you are doing something, you're like, oh my God, I must be the only person on the planet encounter this kind of problem. Trust me, you are not alone. You can always give me a call and I can tell you, yeah, seen that before.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what we started with you know the connecting of the systems, the KPIs, the reporting, all of that stuff. For me, at least, that's been the key to being able to effectively coordinate and work with sales. Because if you can show them how this works and how it tracks through to what they're doing, as well as they've got the ability to pass feedback back up the chain to you, because they get kind of how all of this works causally, the better that works. But you know, if you don't have that as a baseline so that you're all speaking the same language, then holy crap, is that hard to do. And then to your point about the therapy, I tell people all the time, I was like, nothing prepared me for being a parent like repping.
You know what? Drinks also helps. Drinks. Water. I mean, smart water. That's all. Drink smart water.
Oh goodness. So that's what has you excited about the future. What has you terrified?
Artificial intelligence. It's not necessarily taking the jobs away. That's probably not my biggest concern at this point. Maybe eventually, well, but I don't know. If somebody's building a B2B marketer, or robotic marketer, well, you know, maybe. But at this point, I think I'm both excited about what AI can do, but at the same time, a little terrified in terms of what that future will unfold. But you know what? It's going to be good. I'll be positive about it. And we have come so far, right? We have come so far. How bad can it be? Well, it can be very bad. But how bad can it be? So that's one thing that I will be thinking about and still pay a close eye on it. So
yeah, one thing that I don't feel like I've gotten my arms around or have a good answer for, and we've sort of talked around the edges of this and a lot of this stuff, is the more technology, the more things like AI, machine learning, stuff like that, the more automation that we get our hands on, the harder and more technical all of this stuff becomes.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's all becoming democratized and cheaper and easier to deploy. And so it's winding up in the hands of people that have less and less training and exposure into how you actually should and can use this stuff. And I think it's a lot of what's landed us in the position that we're in, where, you know, we're talking about Outbound 2.0 and why you can't do outbound or sales without it being married with demand gen and all of that stuff. Because, you know, we've all done stuff like I did 15 years ago and abused the crap out of this technology. and now it's impossible to get emails to land. It's hard to get people to answer phone calls, all of that stuff. And, I don't yet have an answer for what do you do with that conundrum?
I'm thinking how to answer your question because I'm literally in the middle of it. So for me specifically, obviously, I work for myself and I have to do a lot of automation on my own. And so I will pick and choose what I want to automate and what I don't want to automate. So I run into the dilemma that you encounter on a regular basis. I do. And I don't really have a solution for anybody out there. A lot of time, people are always looking for best practices and the best tip, and they want to implement it. I think to address that issue specifically, Jason, I encourage all the B2B marketers to look inwards. What I mean by that is when you do your job, you have to make that decision. What are the things you want maybe technology to take over? What are the things you want to have a control and have a say to it? And the thing about marketing is a kind of squishy. Everybody does marketing a little bit differently, and everybody use different channels to promote whatever they do. Right. So it's very hard to actually have a one standard framework that apply to everyone. Like Jared was talking about e-commerce, that would be very different than say people who actually sell their products through distributors, right? And they are very, very different. And the marketing mechanisms are very, very different. So Jason, I personally feel this is where humans still thrive and still excel. We can provide certain point of view and we can have a say in terms of what part of it that should be automated, should have a technology take over, and what part of we should have a control. So I always encourage the marketer, especially when I speak, I'm like, you have to look inward. Don't look at outside to look for the best tips and practices. A lot of time that is actually within. And you have to ask yourself that question. So I know that's probably not the answer, Jason, you are looking for, but that's the best I can articulate at this time.
No, I think it's an excellent answer of how this is done well and effectively. I don't know that it's an answer for how we're ever going to address the problem that we have of like,
no, it's not.
Yeah. There's a strong argument to be made that like, as somebody, in my first VP of marketing role, I should have never had my hands on something as powerful as Pardot, where I didn't know what in the world I should do with that or what the applications were. And same story with like putting things like outreach or sales law in the hands of somebody straight out of college that's never had a job, much less a sales job. And now you can fire away automated emails at volume. And it's like, I don't know how to bridge that gap between the people that now have access to the technology and the people that understand how to use it and do it responsibly.
So, that's a great question. I think for that specific question, I think every organization is encountered that as a problem because they hire, they call it recent college grads, right? RCG. And once they got hired, they tend to do technical jobs. And the technical job tend to be demand gen. That's all be very honest. And I think, and if that person is not armed with a proper training and also does not know the consequences of what he or she does, I agree with you. Maybe the corporation needs to look into how they should do a proper training, especially on digital marketing, on digital communication, on the email marketing. What do a proper training to those RCGs or the recent college grads so to prep them better. Right. For longest time, a lot of sales team, they have a sales onboarding, sales training. Right. So they onboard the salespeople, like, for example, the car salespeople. Right. Usually there's a week of educate them in terms of the car they're going to sell, what kind of script they should say, blah, blah, blah. Right. Maybe that kind of methodology in terms of sales training, sales onboarding also apply on the marketing side.
I agree, but at the same time, I feel like most of the training and most of the stuff that's out there and available is largely just how do you actually go use the tool? Like, how do you go and do X, Y, or Z, not how do you actually do this responsibly and at the same time effectively? And in my experience and what I've seen out there, there's a dearth of quality stuff out there that tells you how to, or at least tries to tell you how to think through threading that needle, because it's a very fine line.
It is. I don't know what to say. Sometimes that's just part of growing up.
Absolutely. Well, we got about 5 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, let's drop those in. In the meantime, Jared, what's on your mind?
AI.
Still
Well
on
said.
AI.
Well said, Jared.
So I think, the fun, like, thank you for being here. On my mind, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, I'm on every single social media channel except TikTok. I have not got my dance down. All right. I'm working.
You're so close to doing
Jared
it.
is pushing me so hard to get on TikTok. Pam, girls, they're all on it.
We have 5 minutes left. Your cell phone can download this app in one. You can have a profile done in another. And the final 3 minutes, we'll have first and second take for your first TikTok ever.
I'm literally on every single social media channel: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook,
Instagram,
Pinterest. I mean, seriously, if you want to just type Pam Dinner, Google Pam Dinner, you will find me, or reach out to me directly, hello@pamdinner.com. If you have any specific questions, if you just want to have a therapy session, that's okay too. We can talk about that.
Was Pam at pamdinner.com taken?
Oh, no, it's not. I mean, I have that too. So, but just you can reach out to me any channel, honestly. And if you have any, I just don't respond to solicitation. So I want to make that very clear. But if you genuinely have a specific marketing questions, I'm more than happy to address and help out. But in general, in terms of solicitations, I'm usually I don't know how to respond it, and I was like, I just let it go.
Then send that note to spam at Pam.
Anybody have any specific questions? I love answering questions. I see it as a challenge, you accept it, right? It's like you have a certain question. I always like, okay, how can I answer that in a very in the clearest sense that people can understand? So I kind of like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But thank you for asking that question, Jared. That's so kind. And okay, I got that you encouraged Jason to get on TikTok. I know people told me that too, and I was like, that is just so
your brand would
work.
How much work is it? Like, you just danced right there. That's like one TikTok. You're gonna dance tomorrow. You could show people. You could show people how you make your tea.
What's really funny is Jared sent me an article. It was like, why TikTok's the future of B2B, whatever. And I was like, so I sent it over to my friend Harry, who works with me on my agency, who's out of India. And I was like, all right, dang it, I guess we're gonna have to figure out how we leverage TikTok finally. And he replies back to me, well, TikTok's banned in India, so I can't help.
I think, oh man, when we're not being recorded or live, like, TikTok has an interesting future.
No, it does. And I actually enjoy the content. And I feel that there are certain ways you like, for example, the way that you communicate on LinkedIn, the way you communicate on Instagram, the way you communicate on TikTok, they are kind of a little bit different. And if you want to do it right, a lot of people will say, oh, just one content, upload it everywhere. I don't think that works anymore in the current environment. And the same topic, that even we talk about email marketing instead, right? The way that we are going to talk about it in TikTok is going to be slightly different than we are talking about live, say, on LinkedIn. And because I'm very cognizant of that and I try to create relevant content, I'm just hesitant to take on another channel, but I hear you, Jared. I hear you loud and clear.
As much as I don't want to.
It all depends on your goals. Right?
I do.
At the end of the day, if your goal is to demand gen for yourself, you want to test probably some other stuff. And if it's just to chill out, throw the phone away.
I hear you. I get it. I 100% agree with you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, This has been literally one of the most enjoyable episodes that I've done. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Before I was like, so Jared, just I'm like a control freak. So 2 days before that, I was like, Jason, what's the list of a question? Can you send it to me? I need to prepare, And then he sent me this like Google Doc and said, you know what, just fill this out. And then there's the initial question. It was like even initial question. I was like, do I want to do that? Oh, I'm not sure, whatever. So, but it turned out to be great. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We will absolutely have to do this again.
Lovely. And if I don't see both of you, have a great Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Very much.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.